The silence of deep space stretched endlessly around the research vessel Meridian's edge as it drifted through the void between star systems. Captain Taman Park stood on the bridge looking out at the darkness that held secrets older than most. Civilizations. His dark eyes reflected the soft blue glow of the ship's instruments as he checked their position for the third time that hour. The Galactic Sea Archaeological Survey had sent them to investigate reports of unusual energy readings in this empty region of space. Most captains would have dismissed such readings as sensor ghosts or cosmic radiation, but Taman had learned to trust his instincts during his 15 years of exploring the galaxy's forgotten corners. Dr. Haywan, Kim entered the bridge carrying a steaming cup of coffee and a datapad filled with linguistic analysis reports. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and her tired eyes showed she had been working through the night shift again. She was the best xenolinguist in the survey and had decoded more ancient languages than anyone else in the service. "Ali?" "Nothing on the deep scans, Captain," she said, settling into her station. "Whatever is out there, it is not broadcasting any signals we can recognize." Commander Ginho Lee looked up from the tactical station where he had been reviewing security protocols. As the ship's security chief, he was responsible for keeping the mixed crew of humans and aliens safe during their dangerous work. His broad shoulders and calm manner made everyone feel more secure, but his hand never strayed far from his sidearm. "The alien crew members are getting restless," Jinho reported. "Velthar keeps asking when we will find something worth their time. The Zentari think this mission is beneath them." Taman nodded, understanding the politics involved. The Zentari considered themselves the galaxy's premier archaeologists since their civilization was the oldest known to current science. Having humans lead this expedition wounded their considerable pride. The blue-skinned beings with their large heads and superior attitudes made cooperation difficult on the best of days. Dr. So-Young Choi burst through the bridge doors with excitement, lighting up her usually serious face. The young physicist and engineer had graduated top of her class from the Galactic Technical Institute, and her enthusiasm for discovery was infectious. Her small frame moved quickly as she rushed to the main display screen. "Captain, you need to see this," So-Young said, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "I have been analyzing the energy readings, and I think I know what we are looking for." The main screen flickered to life, showing a three-dimensional map of local space. A small pulsing dot appeared roughly 2 million kilometers away from their current position. The energy signature was unlike anything in their databases. "It is massive," Captain So-Young continued. "At least 15 kilometers long and maybe 5 kilometers wide. The energy readings suggest it has been drifting here for a very long time." Velthar entered the bridge at that moment, followed by Krix, the Malarian tech specialist, and Thane Korvac, the Draconian military advisor. The Zentari expedition leader stood nearly 3 meters tall with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to look down on everything. His telepathic abilities made him arrogant and dismissive of species he considered mentally inferior. Krix was much smaller, with gray-green skin and multiple arms that allowed the Malarian to operate several interfaces at once. The species was known throughout the galaxy for their technical expertise and their ability to interface directly with most computer systems through bioneural links. Thane Korvac represented the Draconian Empire's interests in the expedition. The reptilian being stood 2.5 meters tall with dark green scales and golden eyes that missed nothing. His people were warriors first, but their military technology was among the most advanced in known space.
"Oh, what have the humans discovered?"
Now Velthir asked in the telepathic equivalent of a sneer. "Another piece of space debris they think holds ancient secrets." Taman ignored the insult and gestured to the display. "We have located what appears to be a derelict vessel of unknown origin. Preliminary scans suggest it predates all known civilizations." The alien crew members crowded around the display as So-Young enhanced the image. What appeared on screen made everyone fall silent. The ship was unlike anything any of them had ever seen. Its hull appeared to be made of some kind of crystalline metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The design was elegant but alien, with curves and angles that followed no known architectural principles. "How old?" Krix asked in the clicking language of the Maul. "RIANS?" So-Young checked her readings twice before answering. Based on the metal decay patterns and cosmic radiation exposure, I estimate at least 50,000 years, maybe older. Even Velthar looked impressed despite his usual arrogance. 50,000 years would make this ship older than the earliest Centauri ruins. It predated every known civilization in the galaxy by tens of thousands of years. We need to get closer, Taman decided. Set course for the derelict.
All departments.
Prepare for close-range investigation. The Meridian's edge changed course and began its approach to the ancient vessel. As they drew nearer, the ship's true size became apparent. It dwarfed their research vessel, making them feel like insects approaching a sleeping giant. The crystalline hull showed no signs of damage, despite floating in space for millennia. I am detecting no energy signatures, Crix reported after interfacing. With the ship's sensors, the vessel appears completely dead. No signs of life support or artificial gravity, Jinho added from his security scans. If anyone was aboard, they are long gone. Heiwan studied the hull markings through the main viewer. Strange symbols covered parts of the ship, but they followed no linguistic patterns she recognized. The writing seemed to flow like water across the surface, rather than following straight lines like most known languages. I need to see those symbols up close, she said. The writing system is completely unknown to our databases. Taman made his decision. We go aboard. Jinho, prepare an away team. I want full environmental suits and emergency protocols. Velthar, your people have experience with ancient technology. Will you join us? The Zentari leader nodded eagerly. Despite his arrogance, he was genuinely interested in archaeological discoveries. Crix and Thane also volunteered for the boarding party, as the shuttle bay prepared their landing craft. Taman felt the familiar excitement that came with major discoveries. Something about this ship felt different from other ancient ruins they had explored. The way it absorbed light and the strange energy readings suggested technology far beyond anything they had encountered. What they found aboard would change everything they thought. They knew about the galaxy's history and humanity's place within it, but for now, they could only wonder what secrets waited in the darkness of that ancient hull. The shuttle launched carrying 8 beings, toward a discovery that would reshape their understanding of the universe itself. The shuttle docked with the ancient ship through what appeared to be an airlock that had remained sealed for thousands of years. Captain Taman Park led the away team through the connecting tunnel while their environmental suits registered. The ship's atmosphere is breathable but stale. Emergency lights flickered on. As they moved deeper into the vessel, casting long shadows on the crystalline walls, Dr. Heiwan Kim followed close behind, carrying her linguistic analysis, equipment, and recording devices. Every surface they passed showed more of the strange flowing symbols that seemed to shift and change in the dim light. Her trained eye caught patterns that suggested this was not random decoration, but a complex writing system, unlike anything in the Galactic database's commander. Jinho Lee kept his weapon ready as he scanned for any signs of danger. The ship felt empty, but his security training made him cautious around ancient technology. Too many archaeological expeditions had ended badly when dormant systems suddenly activated after centuries of silence. Dr. Sa-young Choi moved between the group members, taking readings with her various instruments. The ship's technology was completely foreign to her engineering background. The walls themselves seemed to be made of some kind of living crystal that pulsed with faint internal light. Power conduits ran through the material like veins carrying energy she could not identify. Velfair, the Zentari expedition leader, used his telepathic abilities to probe for any remaining consciousness aboard the ship. His large head tilted as he concentrated, but he found only empty silence where minds should be. The mental void disturbed him more than he wanted to admit. QRIX. The Malarian tech specialist extended multiple arms to interface with what looked like control panels along the corridor walls. The gray-green being had successfully connected with technology from dozens of different civilizations, but these systems remained completely unresponsive to all attempts at communication. Thane Korvac, the Draconian military advisor, studied the ship's defensive capabilities as they moved deeper inside. His warrior instincts told him this vessel had been designed for more than simple exploration. Hidden weapon ports and armor plating suggested the builders had expected trouble. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, that took their breath away. The ceiling stretched up into darkness, while the walls curved away in elegant arcs covered. With the flowing script, in the center of the room stood a circular platform surrounded by what could only be control stations. "This must be the bridge or command center," Taman said as his voice echoed in the huge space. "The layout suggests this is where the ship was controlled from." HFY immediately began photographing and recording the symbols covering every surface. The writing seemed more concentrated here, with layers of text flowing over and under each other in complex patterns. Some symbols glowed faintly, while others remained dark as if responding to some unknown trigger. "I am getting massive energy readings from the central platform," Sa Young reported, while checking her instruments. "Whatever powers this ship, it runs through that location." Velthor approached one of the control stations and placed his hands on what appeared to be interface panels. His telepathic probes attempted to connect with the ship's systems, but found no response. The technology remained as silent and unresponsive as empty space. "My neural links are finding nothing," the Zentari leader reported with frustration. "It's as if the ship does not recognize my presence." Crix moved to another station and extended bioneural interface tendrils from multiple arms. The Malarian species had developed the most advanced interface technology in the galaxy, allowing them to communicate directly with almost any computer system. The tendrils made contact with the crystalline surface, but no connection formed. The ship's systems are not responding to standard interface protocols, Crix clicked in the Malarian language. "The technology operates on principles I do not understand." Thane Korvac tried his own approach, using draconian biosignature scanners that should have activated any military systems. The reptilian warrior's golden eyes narrowed as his equipment found no recognition from the ship's dormant technology. "Perhaps the ship is simply too old," Jinho suggested. "Maybe the systems have degraded beyond function after so many years in space." Taman studied the central platform carefully. Something about its design seemed familiar, though he could not identify why. The circular shape and the way the control stations surrounded it reminded him of something from human history, but he could not place the memory. "Let me try," he said, stepping toward the platform. "Captain, wait," Jinho called out. "We do not know. What might happen if you activate something?" Taman paused, but his instincts told him to continue. Every archaeological discovery required someone to take the first risk. He stepped onto the platform and immediately felt a strange, tingling sensation through his environmental suit. The moment his boots touched the crystalline surface, everything changed. The ship came alive with a warm golden light that flowed through. The walls like liquid fire. Control panels that had been dark for millennia suddenly blazed with symbols and displays. The air itself seemed to hum with power as ancient systems awakened from their long sleep. By the void, Velthar gasped as his telepathic senses were suddenly flooded with activity. "The ship is thinking. It has consciousness." Holographic displays materialized around the platform, showing star maps and navigation charts of the galaxy from thousands of years ago. The images were beautiful and terrifying, showing stellar positions that had changed dramatically since the ship was built. HFY watched in amazement as the flowing symbols on the walls began to pulse and shift. The writing was not static decoration, but a living language that responded to the ship's awakening. Her linguistic training helped her recognize communication patterns even though she could not understand the meaning. "It is trying to talk to you." "Us!" she said excitedly. "The ship is attempting communication." Soyoung's instruments went wild as power flowed through systems that should have been impossible. The ship's technology operated on principles that violated several laws of physics as she understood them. Energy moved through the crystalline structure without any visible power source. A voice spoke in the chamber using harmonics that bypassed their translation devices. The words were alien but somehow familiar, carrying emotions of greeting and recognition. The ship's consciousness reached out to them like a parent welcoming lost children home. But the voice spoke only to the humans. When the alien crew members tried to respond or interact with the displays, nothing happened. The ship's consciousness seemed to ignore their presence, completely focusing its attention on Taman and his human companions. The ancient vessel had been waiting for 50,000 Years for the right people to find it. Now that they had arrived, the ship could finally begin sharing its secrets. But those secrets would only be revealed to those it recognized as worthy inheritors of its knowledge. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's newest arrival among the stars might actually make them the oldest players in a game that had been waiting generations to begin. The golden light flowing through the ancient ship's walls pulsed with gentle warmth. As Captain Taman Park stood on the central platform, the ship's consciousness seemed to wrap around him like a welcoming embrace, while the alien crew members watched in growing confusion and anger. The vessel that had remained silent for 50,000 years sang with life, but only for the humans aboard. Dr. Hay-1. Gim worked frantically at her linguistic analysis station as symbols flowed across the holographic displays. The ship's language was unlike anything she had studied, but patterns began to emerge that made her heart race with excitement. Deep within the alien script, she found traces of something impossible, yet undeniable. "Captain, I am finding linguistic connections that should not exist," she called out while her fingers flew across her equipment. The ship's language shows roots that match ancient human proto-languages from Earth's history, languages that existed before we ever left our home world. Velfer, the Zentari expedition leader, stepped forward with his pale blue skin flushed darker with anger. His telepathic abilities told him the ship was actively rejecting his attempts at communication while embracing the humans completely. The insult to his species' pride was more than he could tolerate. "This is impossible," Velthar declared. "My people have been spacefaring for over 30,000 years. We are the eldest civilization in the galaxy. This ship cannot possibly prefer these newcomers over us." The ship's consciousness seemed to hear the Zentari's words, because new display is activated showing historical records that made everyone fall silent. Images of the galaxy from tens of thousands of years ago appeared with civilizations that had never been recorded in any known database. Commander Jinho Lee studied the historical displays with his security officer's eye for detail. The images showed a vast interstellar empire spanning thousands of worlds with technology that made current galactic civilization look primitive. Ships larger than space stations moved between stars while planets were reshaped according to their inhabitants' needs. "Who were they?" Jinho asked as he pointed to the figures shown in the historical records. The beings in the images were tall and graceful with features that seemed familiar yet alien. They built cities that reached toward the stars and created art that captured the beauty of entire worlds. Most striking was their eyes, which held the same determined spark that Jinho recognized in his human. Corrector Cho analyzed the technological displays that showed engineering principles beyond her understanding. The ship's builders had mastered forces that current science could barely theorize about. They moved planets and created stars while their ships traveled between galaxies as easily as current vessels. "Moved between worlds. Our technology does not just use energy," Soyoung reported, with wonder in her voice. "It appears to manipulate reality itself through focused will and consciousness. They call it something that translates as the fire of purpose." The ship's AI manifested as a shimmering hologram in the center of the platform. The being appeared as a tall figure with flowing robes and eyes that held the wisdom of ages. When it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that resonated in the human's bones while leaving the aliens unmoved. "I am keeper of the archive," the hologram announced. "I have waited through the long silence for the inheritors to return. You carry within you the spark that was thought lost when the architects departed this reality." Haywan's translation equipment struggled, the concepts being presented, but she managed to piece together the incredible truth. The architects, as they called themselves, had been the galaxy's first truly advanced civilization. They had ruled space when the current elder races were still primitive beings struggling to understand fire. "The architects were our ancestors," she whispered as the full implications hit her. "They seeded Earth with life before they disappeared. Humans are their descendants." The revelation sent shockwaves through the mixed crew. Crix, the Malarian tech specialist, extended all available arms to interface with the ship's systems, but found the same rejection that had frustrated the others. The ship acknowledged the presence of non-humans, but refused to grant them access to its secrets. "Why do you reject us?" Crix clicked in frustration. "We are advanced beings with knowledge and technology. What do these humans possess that we lack?" Keeper turned its ancient gaze toward the Malarian and spoke with something that might have been sadness. "You seek to understand through logic and analysis. You build upon what others have created. Inheritors carry something more precious than knowledge or technology." Thane Korvac, the Draconian military advisor, stepped forward with his warrior's pride, wounded by the ship's dismissal. His golden eyes blazed with anger as he demanded answers that made sense to his ordered military mind. "Explain this fire of purpose," Thane growled. "What makes these humans special when they are the youngest spacefaring race in the galaxy?" The ship responded by showing them images of human history from Earth's ancient past. Scenes of early humans facing impossible odds played out on the holographic displays. They showed people climbing mountains that could not be climbed and crossing oceans that could not be crossed. Humans building cities in deserts and growing food in frozen wastelands. "Watch how they respond to the word impossible," Keeper said, as the images continued. "Other species accept limitations and work within them. The inheritors hear impossible and ask why not. They carry the fire of purpose that burns away boundaries others accept as permanent." Saul Young studied the historical records of human achievement with new understanding. Every major advancement in human history had come from someone refusing to accept that something could not be done. From the first flights to the first space voyages, humans had consistently achieved what others called impossible. The architects recognized this quality in early humanity. Keeper continued. They saw a species that would not be contained by circumstances or limited by fear. The fire of purpose that drove them to explore and build despite overwhelming odds was the same force that had driven the architects to greatness. Velthar could not accept what he was hearing. His species had built the greatest telepathic network in the galaxy and considered themselves the natural leaders of all lesser races. The idea that humans possessed something the Zentari lacked was unthinkable. "We have telepathic abilities beyond anything humans can achieve," Velthar protested.
"Our minds
"Can span star systems and coordinate the actions of billions. How can you claim these primitives surpass us?" Keeper's response was gentle but devastating. "You coordinate what already exists. You organize what others have built. The inheritors create new possibilities from nothing but determination and hope. They light fires in the darkness while others manage the flames." The ship began revealing more of its archives, showing the true scope of architect civilization. They had not just built an empire, but had reshaped the galaxy itself. Stars were moved to create safer shipping lanes, while dangerous cosmic phenomena were contained or redirected. The architects had been gardeners tending to the galaxy like humans tended to Earth's fields. But something had gone wrong. The final records showed the architects facing a threat from beyond the galaxy's edge. Entities of pure darkness that consumed reality itself were pressing against the barriers between dimensions. The architects had made the ultimate sacrifice to contain this threat, but their solution was only temporary. The barriers weakened, Keeper warned, as the images faded. The inheritors must choose whether to claim their birthright or allow the galaxy to face the returning darkness without the fire of purpose to guide them. The humans aboard the ancient ship realized they stood at a crossroads that would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. The aliens watched with fear and anger as their newest neighbors were revealed to be the heirs of the galaxy's greatest civilization. The ancient ship trembled as Keeper activated systems that had slept for thousands of years. Warning lights bathed the command chamber in crimson as the AI's holographic form flickered with urgency. Captain Taman Park felt the deck plates vibrate beneath his feet while alarms sounded in harmonics that seemed designed to reach into his very soul. "The awakening has triggered the final protocols," Keeper announced as new passages opened in the crystalline walls. "The inheritors must prove they are worthy of the architect legacy. The tests will determine if humanity possesses the fire of purpose needed to face what approaches." Dr. Haewon Kim watched as symbols flowed across the walls like living light. Her linguistic training helped her understand that the ship was preparing to judge them according to standards set 50,000 years ago. The weight of that responsibility made her hands shake as she gathered her equipment. Commander. Ginho Lee checked his weapons and security gear as passages opened, leading deeper into the ship. His military instincts told him they were about to face challenges designed to test every aspect of human character. The ship would not simply give them its secrets without proof they deserved such power. Dr. So-Young Choi studied the energy readings as the ship reconfigured itself around them. Walls moved and passages shifted while new chambers materialized from what had seemed solid crystal moments before. The technology was so advanced it appeared magical, but she knew it followed principles that human science might someday understand. Alien crew members watched with growing alarm as it became clear the tests were meant only for humans. Velthar, the Zentari expedition leader, tried to follow Taman toward one of the new passages, but found himself blocked by an invisible barrier that would not acknowledge his presence. "This is intolerable," Velthar declared as his telepathic. Probes were turned away by the ship's defenses. "My people have the right to witness these proceedings. We will not be excluded from such a momentous discovery." Crix, the Malarian tech specialist, extended multiple arms toward control panels that had activated throughout the chamber. The gray-green being found every interface sealed against non-human contact, while displays showed information in scripts that translation devices could not decode. Thane Korvac. The Draconian military advisor studied the ship's defensive measures with professional interest. His warrior training recognized the signs of a fortress preparing for siege. Hidden weapon systems had come online, while armor plating sealed critical areas from unauthorized access. "The ship is preparing for conflict," Thane growled as his golden eyes tracked the movement of concealed turrets. "It expects resistance to whatever's about to happen." Keeper addressed the concerns of the alien crew members with patience that spoke of vast age and experience. The AI had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations while waiting for this moment. Nothing they could say or do would change the protocols established by the architects. "You may observe but not interfere," Keeper declared as transparent barriers formed around viewing areas. "The tests are for the inheritors alone. Success or failure will determine the fate of all life in this galaxy." The first passage called to Jinho with a sound like distant battle drums. The security chief understood that his test would involve courage and protection of others. He looked back at his human companions, knowing he might not see them again. If he failed, whatever lay ahead. "I will go first," Jinho said, as he adjusted his equipment and checked his weapons one final time. "If these tests are meant to prove our worth, then let them see what human determination looks like." The passage sealed behind Jinho as he entered a chamber that expanded into something like a training ground. Holographic enemies materialized, around him wielding weapons and abilities from dozens of different species. The simulation was so realistic he could smell their alien, sense and hear their battle cries. But these were not ordinary combat scenarios. The enemies could only be defeated through acts of genuine courage, rather than simple skill with weapons. Jinho found himself protecting holographic civilians while facing overwhelming odds. Each victory required him to risk everything for strangers, who existed only as light and energy. The ship measured not his fighting ability, but his willingness to sacrifice himself for others. Jinho passed the test by throwing himself between a group of children and an explosion that should have killed him. Instead, he found himself back in the passage with Keeper's voice echoing approval. "The first trial is complete," the AI announced. "The inheritor has demonstrated the courage that burns at the heart of the fire of purpose." HFY entered the second passage, drawn by sounds like whispered conversations in 1,000 different languages. Her test chamber filled with linguistic puzzles that required more than knowledge to solve. Ancient scripts shifted and changed, demanding intuitive leaps rather than systematic analysis. She found herself translating messages between species that had never met while working against time limits that made careful study impossible. The solutions came not from her training, but from her ability to understand the emotional content beneath the words. Communication required empathy as much as knowledge. The final puzzle presented her with a choice between saving historical records or establishing communication with a dying civilization. Logic demanded preserving the written knowledge, but HFY chose to comfort the last speakers of a forgotten language. The ship rewarded her compassion by preserving both the records and the connection. "The second trial is complete," Keeper declared. The inheritor has shown that wisdom comes from the heart as well as the mind. So-young faced the third passage, where engineering challenges waited that defied every law of physics she had studied. The test chamber contained machinery that should not work according to known science. Her task was to repair systems using principles that did not exist in any textbook. Traditional engineering approaches failed completely. The machinery responded only when she abandoned logical analysis and instead approached the problems with creative intuition. She had to believe that impossible solutions could work before the technology would. Accept her modifications. The final challenge required her to build something that had never existed using materials that should not be able to combine. So-young succeeded by refusing to accept the word impossible and instead asking what if. The machinery came alive under her hands as the fire of purpose flowed through her work. The third trial is complete, Keeper announced. The inheritor has proven that creation requires faith as well as knowledge. Taman approached the final passage knowing that his test would determine not just his own fate but the future of humanity's relationship with the galaxy. The captain's test would require him to choose between power and responsibility. While the alien crew members watched through the transparent barriers, the passage opened into a chamber that contained the ship's greatest secrets. Weapon systems capable of destroying entire fleets powered up, while star charts showed strategic positions throughout the galaxy. The ship offered Taman the tools to make humanity the dominant force among the stars. At the same time, displays showed the approaching cosmic threat and the sacrifices that would be required to face it. Taman could claim the ship's power for humanity alone, or share its knowledge with species that resented and feared human success. The weight of choice pressed down on him as alarms warned that the ancient barriers were failing. Time was running out, and whatever decision he made would echo through history for generations to come. The captain of a simple research vessel now held the fate of the galaxy in his hands. While the ship waited to see if humanity truly deserved to inherit the legacy of the architects, Captain Taman Park stood alone in the test chamber, surrounded by displays that showed the full scope of power the ancient ship could grant humanity. Weapon systems that could shatter moons hummed with deadly energy, while star charts revealed strategic positions that would give humans control over every major trade route in the galaxy. The temptation to claim such dominance was almost overwhelming. Through the transparent barriers, he could see his crew members watching with hope and fear in their eyes. Dr. Haewon Kim pressed her hands against the barrier, wanting to help but knowing this choice had to be his alone. Commander Jinho Lee stood ready to support whatever decision his captain made, while Dr. So-young Choi studied the technical displays with wonder and concern. The alien crew members watched with very different emotions. Felther, the Zentari expedition leader, radiated anger and fear through his telepathic abilities as he realized humans might soon possess technology that made his ancient civilization primitive. Crix, the Malarian tech specialist, calculated the strategic implications of human dominance, while Thane Korvac, the Draconian military advisor, prepared for the possibility of conflict. Keeper manifested beside Taman as warning alarms grew louder. Throughout the ship, the AI's holographic form flickered with urgency as displays showed the cosmic barriers weakening at an accelerating rate. Time was running out for a decision that would affect the survival of all life in the galaxy. The barriers fail faster than predicted, Keeper announced as images showed cracks spreading through dimensional walls that had held for 50,000 years. The entities beyond the edge grow stronger as reality weakens. Soon, they will break through and consume everything in their path. Taman studied the displays showing the approaching threat. The entities were not just alien invaders, but forces of pure entropy that unmade reality wherever they touched. They turned stars into darkness and planets into empty space while feeding on the destruction of organized matter and energy. What exactly did the architects sacrifice themselves to stop? He asked as more warning displays activated around the chamber. Keeper's response came, the images that made everyone watching recoil in horror. The entities came from spaces between dimensions where the normal laws of physics did not apply. They were attracted to organized reality, like predators drawn to prey, and would not stop consuming until nothing remained but empty void. The architects, transformed themselves to a living barrier woven from their consciousness and the fire of purpose that burned within them, Keeper explained. They became the walls between dimensions, but even their sacrifice was meant to be temporary. They expected their inheritors to find a better solution. Taman looked at the weapon displays again, knowing he could use the ship's power to establish human dominance over the galaxy. With such technology, humanity could force the other species to follow human leadership in facing the cosmic threat. It would be efficient and logical, but something about that path felt wrong. "Show me the alternative," he said, knowing there had to be another choice. New displays activated, showing the ship's educational systems and knowledge archives. Instead of weapons, the ship could become a school where humans shared not just technology but the fire of purpose that made such technology possible. Other species could learn to kindle their own inner flames and contribute their unique strengths to the coming battle. Velthor pressed against his barrier as he watched the displays. The idea that humans would teach rather than dominate challenged everything he believed about the natural order of galactic civilization. His telepathic pride rebelled against the concept of learning from a species younger than his own. "They cannot seriously consider sharing such power," Velthor said to his alien companions. "Humans are too inexperienced to handle such responsibility. They will make mistakes that could doom us all." Crix extended multiple arms toward the barriers, trying to reach interfaces that remained sealed against non-human contact. The Malarians' technical expertise meant nothing when the ship's systems refused to acknowledge alien presence. The frustration of being excluded from the greatest technological discovery in Galactic history was almost unbearable. Thane Korvac watched the weapon displays with a warrior's appreciation for their devastating potential. His military mind calculated how human possession of such firepower would change the balance of power throughout known space. The Draconian Empire would become irrelevant overnight if humans chose the path of dominance. If they claim this power for themselves, we must consider them a threat to all other species. Thane growled as his golden eyes tracked the movement of weapon systems. No single race should possess such overwhelming advantage.
Demon
Heard the alien concerns, but also saw the fear and suspicion that divided the galaxy's species from each other. Humans were newcomers who had spread rapidly through space because they refused to accept limitations others took for granted. That same refusal to accept boundaries could either unite or destroy galactic civilization. "Keeper, what happens if I choose to share the ship's knowledge with all species?" he asked, while studying the lesional displays. The AI's response came with images of humans working alongside aliens to kindle the fire of purpose in multiple species, Zentari learning to push beyond the boundaries of their telepathic comfort zones. Malarians discovering that technical perfection meant nothing without the courage to attempt the impossible. Draconians finding that true strength came from protecting others rather than dominating them. "The fire of purpose is not unique to humans," Keeper explained. "It exists as potential in all sapient life, but requires nurturing to burn brightly. The architects saw this potential in early humanity because humans cultivated it through necessity and struggle. Other species can learn to kindle their own flames." The displays showed what galactic civilization could become if all species worked together, guided by the fire of purpose. Possible projects that would reshape reality itself became achievable. When different kinds of intelligence and determination combined their efforts, the cosmic threat that had defeated the architects might finally be overcome. But such cooperation required trust between species that had never truly understood each other. Humans would have to take the first step by sharing power rather than hoarding it. The risk was enormous because failure could doom everyone to eternal darkness. Taman made his choice, knowing it would define humanity's relationship with the galaxy forever. He placed his hands on the control interfaces and felt the ship respond to his decision. Instead of claiming the weapons for humanity alone, he activated the educational systems and opened the ship's knowledge to all species. "We choose to teach rather than dominate," he announced as barriers around the alien crew members dissolved. "The fire of purpose burns brightest when it spreads to kindle new flames in others." Keeper's holographic form smiled with approval as the ship reconfigured. itself into a vast learning center. Weapon systems powered down while libraries and training facilities activated throughout the vessel. The ancient ship that could have made humans galactic overlords instead became a school where all species could learn to achieve the impossible. Velthar stepped forward hesitantly as interfaces finally responded to his telepathic touch. For the first time in his long life, the proud Zentari felt humble as he realized how much he had yet to learn about the fire of purpose that humans carried so naturally. Crix extended multiple arms toward control panels that welcomed alien interaction. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Malarians' technical expertise would be needed to understand how fire of purpose enhanced rather than replaced logical analysis and systematic thinking. Thane Korvac approached the command center with his warrior's pride intact but transformed. True strength meant protecting all life rather than ensuring the dominance of any single species. The coming battle would require courage from everyone rather than submission to human leadership. As the ship set course for the Galactic Core 2, begin preparations for the returning Cosmic Threat Keeper's final words echoed through the chambers. The fire spreads. The inheritors have chosen well. Let the galaxy kindle its own flames and face the darkness united. The ancient ship sailed through space, carrying the future of galactic civilization in its crystalline hull. Humans had inherited the legacy of the architects, not through conquest, but through the courage to trust others with power. The fire of purpose burned brighter when shared, and soon the galaxy would learn that impossible challenges became achievable when all species worked together, guided by the flame that refused to accept defeat.